Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 12 of the 25 Giro d'Italia. Today's stage has to be one for the sprinters because when we look at the course at 173 kilometers, I'll call it 110 miles in length, the last 65 kilometers is pan flat and the climbs before that are not crazy difficult. So you know for sure that pure sprinters are going to want another shot here at stage 12 of the Giro, because when we start looking at some of the sprinters like Olaf Koy, remember he's missed 2 chances of being able to win a stage here for Visma-Lease bike for tactical reasons at the finish of the race. It's been difficult sprint finishes so far if we go back and look at the 2 races that I'll cover later once I get into the storytelling here of stage 12. But when the cameras come on with 173 kilometers to go, it only takes a second attack before we see Pulte, we see Arkea Samsic up there, and we see Bardiani up there. But they're only holding about a 3-minute gap maximum when we start looking at the teams behind that are chasing, with Visma-Lease bike, Alpecin de Koenig, and AG2R on the front. That means at 3 minutes, these guys got no chance. So we go into the sprint line competitions. And the main thing I want to point out on the first sprint, Mads Pedersen takes it easy 4th place here without any fight against the sprinters. So when we look at that and when we go into the second sprint, we see Mads Pedersen get 4th place again with 0 fight against the sprinters. Well, we know the sprint line competition points here throughout the middle of the stages, everyone is giving in to the ideal that Mads Pedersen from Leadout Track is going to take the purple jersey home with him at the end of the Giro d'Italia, assuming he can keep the bike upright and finish all the stages. Now, we start going up a little bit further into about 36 kilometers to go as we see 2 of the riders of the 3 breakaway riders are wrapped up, and we see Pietro Bone from Pulte just holding like a 3-second gap. He's going to extend that out a little bit further because we have the Red Bull Sprint point competition coming out, and the peloton's been nervous with about 60 kilometers to go, but they still won't wrap up Pietro Bone. What's curious about this is Pietro Bone's going up the road trying to make it to the Red Bull Sprint competition where there's time bonuses. Pietro Bone's got a gap, and then we see Kim Heiduck from Team Ineos throw an attack. When we start looking at the peloton, we see the pink jersey up there, Del Toro. As we come out of this left turn, Pietro Bone's got a bit of a gap, and he's only got a couple 100 meters to go. And we see Kim Heiduck solidly with a gap on the peloton, but then we see the pink race leader's jersey, Del Toro, coming out with a gap. He's got a gap on Bahrain Victorious and Bora Hansgrohe, who the job of these 2 riders was to beat Del Toro. And Del Toro's not a sprinter, but he looks like he's quickly becoming one here at stage 12 of the Giro d'Italia as he's coming across the line to grab himself a 2-second time bonus right here for 3rd position. Pietro Bone got 1st, Kim Heiduck got 2nd, but the pink jersey grabbing 2 seconds. If I back the film up just a hair, look as he comes out of these corners looking back over his shoulder, a little Tadej Pogačar-ish style right here. Now, we can't say for sure how much better that Del Toro's gotten, but something here at the Giro d'Italia has changed as we look at stage 11 when he came into that finish for 2nd place, looking back over his shoulder, left, right, and center, all the way up the finishing stretch to allow Ayuso to close the gap back up to the front group there to get 2nd through the GC positions, with Del Toro grabbing points there for time bonus points for 2nd spot. Now we see it again here at the Red Bull Sprint point competition. Now, is he Tadej Pogačar? Well, we don't know that. He hasn't won a stage of the Giro d'Italia, but he's looking something marvelous right here at the Red Bull Sprint line competition. So we go up further as we come onto the circuit. There's 1 lap of about 26, 27 kilometers to go, and Pietro Bone's getting wrapped up. We go into 20 kilometers to go, and we see that Picnic is up there with Casper van Oulden. Oulden won stage 4 here of the Giro d'Italia, and when he won that stage, if we back up the film a little bit, we'll see that it was Alfini that had to close the gap up to Timo Kielitz from Alpecin de Koenig and Ben Turner, and we know Alfini didn't have anybody on his wheel other than his sprinter, and his sprinter's Olaf Koy. But they didn't have Wout van Aert for that stage, so the speed slowed a little bit, and Casper van Oulden won that stage 4. I fast forward you into stage 6 that Caden Groves won. Now that we're seeing Caden Groves with Alpecin de Koenig at the front at the same point in time with 20 kilometers to go, let's take a look at that stage. Well, we go into that stage, that was the rainy, miserable one that got canceled with all the massive crashes, but the sprinters were still fighting it out for who was going to win the stage. And when we look at that, again, Alpecin de Koenig, Plowright got up the road with 1.3, and then Wout van Aert slipped up the road with about 1.1 kilometer to go as he's coming under the 1K banner. Olaf Koy backed off the throttle because he knew at that moment that Wout van Aert could not do a proper lead out to go all the way into the stage. Now, it took Pulte doing a magnificent pull back there from Maestri, setting it up to bring back Wout van Aert, who brought back Plowhite. And then, of course, we see coming into the finish where Olaf Koy got blocked in on the left side of the road. Caden Groves went to the right and won. So Alpecin Deceuninck's been a little thorn in the side for Visma-Lease bike right now on both those two stages, and Olaf Koy has not had a chance to win a stage victory here at the Giro d'Italia. So we start coming into 19 kilometers ago. We see Leadout at the front. With Leadout at the front, they're not going to hold tight control right here because Jacobo has been at the front throughout multiple times at the finish when it's been nervous here for the last 60 kilometers. And we look at the team with Dan Uhl. We look at Mads Pedersen and Vasek. That's up there with Giacomo. That's just not enough numbers when we're talking about 19 kilometers ago. So it's going to be super chaotic here in the finish of stage 12 of the Giro d'Italia, and it's going to get complicated for me to call it right. But as we go into 13 kilometers ago, we see that the pink jersey, Del Toro, is at the front again. Guys, he's at the front with 13 kilometers to go, and he's even taking some wind. This kid must have some form because he is doing some magnificent ride in the last few stages, especially since the Strade Bianche stage of 9, where, of course, he finished second on that stage and took the pink race leader's jersey. Now he's motivated to keep it, and the kid is always in the correct position at the front of the peloton. Now we go into 10 kilometers ago. We see Soudal Quickstep, EF Education, Visma-Lease bike, Picnic are all at the front, 4 wide. We come into 9 kilometers to go. I call it about 9.5. You take what you like here as we're coming through this roundabout. Alpecin Deceuninck come out at the front. This kind of looks a little bit funny here at the front because we see Quinten Hermans at the front. He's looking back over his shoulder, and we see Plowright. Plowright's kind of got like his little looking expression over there at the front of his teammate, and he's all of a sudden points over to the left, and he's telling his teammates that maybe we got to go to the left. Then the camera finds Caden Groves that's on the left side over there with Visma-Lease bike, and Caden Groves looks like he's giving the nods to his teammates of Alpecin Deceuninck that, yeah, you guys might want to move over to the left. So they move over to the left, and then the chaos starts fighting even more. Once we're coming into 8 to 7, everybody's got control of the peloton, or nobody's got it. You call it however you want. It's chaos curb to curb right now. We go up to the front with 6.5 kilometers ago. We see Soudal Quickstep at the front, and we see Visma-Lease bike's Dylan Van Barley. The Quickstep rider's Ethan Hayter. What Ethan Hayter's doing at the front with 6.5 kilometers ago, I don't know. He's got too much speed, and 6.5 kilometers ago is too far out. He should be the guy that's in front of Luc Lamperti. He should be the guy in front of Paul Magnaire late into this stage 12 of the Giro. But instead, there's a little bit of testosterone battle going over here between Visma-Lease bikes, Dylan Van Barley, and between Ethan Hayter. They're bumping not once, not twice, but about 3 times. And then finally the two start looking at each other. This is ridiculous. You're just wasting energy right now. Visma-Lease bike is wasting energy, and Soudal Quickstep's wasting energy with Ethan Hayter as they're fighting for position at the front. But there's no reason for this. We come into 5 kilometers ago. We see Lidl Trek on the front. Now we see the pink jersey as it's going curb to curb at the front. We see the pink jersey Del Toro. As he looks down, he's running into the back wheel of his teammate there and almost crashes, bumps over hard on the Visma-Lease bike rider, but holds it upright. Coming into 3.1, and we see that it's Aspirin for Q36.5, followed by Elms Lupins on his wheel. Two Q36.5 riders on the front, but they don't have their sprinter. We look at their sprinter, Moschetti. He's a little bit further back. Moschetti was that rider that put Koy into the fencing on that stage 6 and allowed Caden Groves to fly all the way around the outside, and we'll never know the answer whether or not if Koy had the same speed of Caden Groves on that stage 6 of the Giro. But right now we know that Q36.5 with 2 riders on the front without their sprinter, 3 kilometers to go. This is a tall order. So first we see Aspirin pull off, and then we see Elms Lupin on the front. Now when we see Elms Lupin pulling, he's looking over shoulder, left to right. He's trying to find Moschetti back there, but Moschetti's a little too far back. And Elms Lupin at this moment for Q36.5, you shouldn't be on the front. You are the last lead out guy, I would imagine, for Moschetti with the kind of speed you have, and you guys should be well gelled together, but pulling at the front right now doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, next up, Lidl Trek's coming back on the front with 2.3 kilometers to go. As Lidl Trek's getting on the front, they had a little bit of panic from Picnic coming up there, and so we see Dan Uhl now start selling out at 2.3 kilometers to go. As he's selling out, Vasek's there, Mads Pedersen's there. All of the main hitters are in the picture and at the front of the peloton right now as Dan Uhl's throwing down on the pedals. He's going to go a few hundred meters, but then he's going to start to blow, and all of a sudden we see AG2R coming to the front at 1.7 kilometers to go. They're going to hold it for a total of about 100, 200 meters, and then they start to blow. Now it's time for Visma-Lease bike. 1.6 kilometers to go. Affini's on the front, Wout van Aert, and Olaf Koy. Now 1.6 is a long ways to do a proper lead out. And we know from the first time they passed the finish line on today's race that at 400 meters to go, there's a left turn. But we know it's straight from now all the way into that left turn at 425 meters, exiting just under 400 meters to go. So Affini's got to pull out a magnificent pull at this moment. With Affini's on the front, he's drilling it, and Albazin de Koenig are coming back up into the picture. Albazin de Koenig have had control, slight control of the front of the peloton, but each time throughout the last 10 kilometers here, the 2 times when they've had it, they've been a little bit hesitant and a little discombobulated, as I explained with 9 kilometers ago. Now, as they're coming up the right side, it starts getting interesting as we see Olaf Koy get squeezed out from Luke Lamperti and Vasek. As Vasek and Luke Lamperti are squeezing out there, the Visma-Lease bike rider, he's got to slot back into 5th position as Albazin de Koenig are still coming up the right side. Now, we start going into 1.4, we see a crash. With this crash at the middle of the peloton, it's the Pulte rider going down, and we start getting glimpses of the bike flying off to the right side of the road. This is for sure is going to cause some chaos for some of the GC riders. But as the cameras come back up to the front, we see Team Ineos are coming up the right side. They're drilling it up the right side with 2 riders. Josh Tarling's there, and Ben Turner's there as Josh Tarling's coming up the right side full gas. Now, we're coming just into about 1.1 kilometer to go. Affini's legs are starting to blow. Remember, he's been on the front for 500 meters right now, and he's been doing blazing speed of about 65 kilometers an hour as Ineos, Josh Tarling's flying up the right side. We're going to see Affini start to blow. He's blowing big time, but he knows he's got to stretch it another 100 or 200 meters, or Wout van Aert and Olaf Koy are going to be in big time troubles. And right now, Olaf Koy's sitting 5th. Wout van Aert sitting 2nd. We got Luke Lamperti 2nd. And then, of course, we got Vasek sitting 3rd wheel with Koy just behind him. As we see Affini start to blow, just coming about 1.1, coming into 1 kilometer to go. It's time for Wout van Aert to go to the front because he knows his teammate Affini starting, his legs are about done, and he stretched it as far as he can. For sure, he would have felt the pace start to drop. So Wout van Aert takes over at the front. Once he takes over the front, just as he was starting to get busy at the front, if I back the film up just a hair, Olaf Koy had come around both Luke Lamperti and, of course, Vasek from Lidl Trek. As he came around, he put himself onto Wout van Aert's wheel. Wout starts going to the front, and we look at the overhead picture at about 980 meters to go, and we see Olaf Koy's got to make a decision. Wout van Aert's taking over, and he's going to the left side of the fencing there, and he's looking back over his shoulder. And for a split second, it looks like Olaf Koy wanted to go over to Josh Tarling, who now started to blow and pulled off hard to the right. But Olaf Koy changes his mind, or did he? I can't tell you for sure if he's going to go that way. It just looked like there's a hesitation for Olaf Koy to go to the left, but then he decides he's going full left as Wout van Aert was looking back and waiting for a sprinter. As those two come together, it gets exciting back there because Affini is dropping back fast on the left side. As he's dropping back, Milan Franten from Cofidis has got to bump hard with Paul Magnaire from Soudal Quickstep. As he's bumping hard with Soudal Quickstep rider, he's going to pull it out. They both hold it up. And as they go over to the left side there, to get onto the wheel there, the Visma-Lease bike train, now we start looking over to the right because what was happening at the right at about 950 meters to go, maybe just a hair under. We look over there, Vasek is getting tied up, and he's getting tied up with, of course, the stage 4 winner of Casper van Oelden there. As he's getting tied up, this is going to pull Vasek out. Mads Pedersen has to kick around hard to the right. As Mads Pedersen kicks around hard, he knows he's lost his lead out man, Vasek, as he's going hard to the right. And we see Wout van Aert doing an amazing lead out at the front on the left side of the fencing. As he's stretching it out, we start looking who's on his wheel. Okay, Olaf Koy made it on his wheel. Caden Groves sitting in 3rd position. Now Ben Turner, who had his teammate Josh Tarling take him up to the front of the peloton, he comes over and takes Caden Groves off of the wheel of Koy. How can this happen? Well, look at the fencing. When you have the fencing on the left side, and Ben Turner knows if he can get his bars slightly in front of the bars there of Caden Groves has no place to go because the fencing's holding him up. And he knows Ben Turner has the front position. So Ben Turner comes in and slots in the 3rd position. Then the next rider to abuse, Caden Groves, is going to be Casper van Oelden as he comes in and he does the same trick that we just got done seeing from Ben Turner, and he slots in. That moves Caden Groves a little further back. But it's not over yet, the nightmare for Caden Groves, because Mads Pedersen, who went around the right side of his teammate, now he's doing the same tactic that the 2 riders in front of him did as they're still stuck on the left side of the road coming in about 600 meters to go. Mads slots in front of Caden Groves. Up front, Wout van Aert still got the lead. He moves to the center of the road at 500 meters to go, because he knows there's a left turn coming up at 425 meters. As he moves to the center, Olaf Koy is on his wheel. Ben Turner is on his wheel. We start looking behind Ben Turner. That's Casper Van Oelden there. We see Mads Pedersen next. Then we see Caden Groves. And then Wout van Aert drops all the way to the right side of the fencing. This will allow Wout van Aert to have a little bit of relaxation and just back off the throttle a hair, because he knows with the next turn coming up that he's going to have to do one more acceleration coming out with about 375 meters to go out of the left turn. So Wout saving just a hair bit of energy, which means the power is going to back off a hair. When it backs off a hair, Caden Groves wants some payback as he comes up the left side, and this time he's got the inside lane there on Mads Pedersen from Lidl Trek, so he's going to slot into just behind Casper Van Oelden as Wout van Aert starts the left turn. Wout van Aert flies through the left turn, and he's got his sprinter, Olaf Koy, on his wheel, Ben Turner there, and then Casper Van Oelden in fourth position, followed, of course, by Caden Groves, who got some revenge on Mads Pedersen, who's sitting behind Caden. As they exit, Wout van Aert throws in the acceleration on the pedals that Olaf Koy needs. He starts the sprint, takes it all the way to the right side of the line, and then we look back, there's a little gap from Casper Van Oelden to the back wheel of Ben Turner. So Casper Van Oelden starts a sprint at 275 meters to go. It's going to be a long sprint for the post-picnic rider if he wants to win stage 12 of the Giro d'Italia. But his explosiveness on the pedal is dropping Caden Groves back there and Mads Pedersen. So Casper Van Oelden's flying up the center of the road. As he comes into about 225 meters to go, Koy must have felt a little bit of slowing from there from Wout van Aert as he looks left over his shoulder to see what's happening. And of course, the Visma-Lease bike rider sees Casper Van Oelden coming by quick as he's reached the back wheel to the left side there, center of the road. As we look at Casper Van Oelden's acceleration, now Olaf Koy has to leave the wheel of Wout van Aert, the big guy from Visma-Lease, the bike that's done a magnificent almost 1 kilometer lead out right now, as Koy drops onto the wheel there, Casper Van Oelden. He's sitting locked on. Ben Turner's there. Caden Groves started his sprint just a little bit earlier, and he's made up some time on Ben Turner, but he still has not gotten up to quite the back wheel exactly there of a Visma-Lease bike rider's Koy, as Casper Van Oelden's throwing everything into it. Now with 125 meters to go, this is the time for Olaf Koy to throw in his attack. He throws it in, quickly starts gaining on Casper Van Oelden with 50 meters to go. He's up there side by side, Casper Van Oelden. Caden Groves is on the far left as he started his acceleration, but a little bit too far out of the picture to win the stage. And Ben Turner has started his attack with about 50 meters to go coming around the right side. As we come into 40 meters to go, the speed there of Olaf Koy is too much for Casper Van Oelden, as his speed must have been dropping. Olaf Koy is still accelerating. He gets into 10 meters to go. Visma-Lease bike rider sits up stone cold coming across the finish with a roar and both arms out with fist punches on each side as Olaf Koy wins stage 12 of the Giro d'Italia. Behind Olaf Koy, it's a bike throw back there. Casper Van Oelden will round out second, and then third to round out the podium. Ben Turner? Ineos rounds out the podium here. He takes third. Mads Pedersen gets fourth on the stage. Caden Groves gets fifth with a bike throw back there for about second through fifth position back here, so it's tight, but not tight for Olaf Koy, who takes his first victory here of the Giro d'Italia. Second for Visma-Lease bike, because let me remind you, Wout van Aert won stage 9 of Strade Bianche. So Visma-Lease bike get their second stage victory here at the Giro d'Italia. They're looking pretty good after today's stage 12. Now, Del Toro. What do we think about Del Toro? I can't tell you guys. He does look a little POGAČAR-ish when we start looking at the way he's finished these last two stages and the way he rode stage 9 at Strade Bianche. But he still has not won a stage here. He still not has soloed anyone. Soloed against the best riders here at the Giro, excuse me. But when we start looking at yesterday's stage 11, when he was attacking, going up the road, and then he backed off the throttle, you know POGAČAR would never have backed off the throttle there. So Del Toro still has something else to learn when it comes to his tactics here, but he's looking better and better for sure. And when we back the film up to look at the Pulte rider that crashed at 1.4 kilometers ago, looks like Primož Roglič. If I got the picture right here, it's a little cloudy to see, but that might have been Primož Roglič just missing the Pulte rider. That luckily for him, he curled up in a ball so that most of the peloton missed him. We didn't see him get hit, but it's a close call for him and for the Bora Hansgrohe rider that could possibly be Primož Roglič right here. When it's all said and done, though, magnificent finish of the last 20 kilometers. Sleeper the rest of the time, though. So if you don't have 173 kilometers worth, make sure you watch the last 20 kilometers of today's stage because it was magnificent. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys for stage 13 of the Giro 2025 real soon.